Hello everyone and welcome to a first look video for Stargate Timekeepers. I'm your host, Colors Fade. Stargate Timekeepers is a new real-time tactics game from Slitherine Studios. If you're at all familiar with the stealth tactics RTS games from Mimimi Studios like Shadow Tactics, Desperados 3, or the recently released Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, then you'll find yourself in very familiar territory because Stargate Timekeepers plays exactly like those games. My first exposure to this more personal, almost RPG-like RTS game was Desperados 3, which is a fantastic title. Recently, I revisited it to compare it to Stargate Timekeepers, and it was amazing how similar the two games are. These games are a very specific subset of the RTS genre, much like how Souls-like games incorporate very specific game mechanics to make them Souls-like. These sorts of RTS games all share some basic DNA as well. Stargate Timekeepers is not a RTS in the classic sense. You won't be building outposts and controlling large armies like in StarCraft or Age of Empire. Instead, you'll control a small party of characters in a real-time setting, and you will use the abilities of those party members to explore, stealth, and fight your way through various story-driven scenarios. The biggest difference here between these sorts of stealth tactical RTS games and more classic RTS games is the implementation of a pause feature. Like Desperados 3, Stargate Timekeepers utilizes something called tactical mode. At any point in time, the player can pause the game, entering tactical mode, and issue individual commands to their party members. They can then choose to either execute those commands immediately, or they can tell their party to synchronize their actions, so that things like attacks all land at the same time. For players who aren't very good at RTS games, like me, the tactical command option is a godsend. And in fact, the game being an RTS is really the only issue I have with it. That's not a problem with the game, that's a problem with me. As I said, my first exposure to this sort of RTS game was Desperados 3, and just like that game, Stargate has a timer near the top of the screen and will remind the player how long it's been since their last save. This is an important tool in these sorts of games because the player will fail a lot. I was constantly trying to stealth my way around enemies or silently take them out and getting caught, causing me to reload the latest quick save. This, as it turns out, is the normal way to play these games. Desperados 3 plays exactly the same way. You're not really expected to ace the test here and get through the scenario without any mistakes, unless you're some kind of RTS savant. For the rest of us normal humans, saving and reloading is a way of life in these games. It's that sort of disjointed gameplay, the constant failing and reloading, that makes it difficult for me personally to enjoy these games to their fullest. Yeah, they look great. And in the case of Desperados 3, the voice acting is superb as well. The gameplay is fun, but the constant failing and reloading becomes tiresome after a while for me. And that was never more true than while I was playing Stargate Timekeepers. That said, the game seems to be a very solid representation of this particular subgenre of RTS games. In the limited time I've had to play it, I found it enjoyable, despite the saving and reloading. The graphics, sound, animations, and voice acting are all on par with the other games in this genre. And since it's an officially licensed Stargate product, I suspect a lot of Stargate fans are going to have a great time with it. When Slitherine reached out to me to give me a key, they did pass along one interesting piece of information that I think players should know before they purchase the game. Stargate Timekeepers will release content in 2 phases. January 23rd, 2024, when the game officially comes out, we'll see the release of the first phase of content, which will include 7 missions. Later in the year, Slitherine says they'll release the second phase, which will include a second batch of 7 missions. Slitherine calls these missions episodes, and they're treating their release more like how a streaming service treats episodes in a popular TV show. Players will not have to pay extra for the additional episodes that come later this year in the second phase. They're considered part of the base game, not DLC. So all total, we should see 14 missions in the base game when all is said and done. Whether there will be DLC after that will likely depend on the popularity of the game and how well it sells. So there you have it, a new game based on the beloved Stargate IP. Hopefully this one does well, so we'll see more games set in the Stargate universe down the road. because if there was ever an IP to mine for video games, that seems like a ripe one. And I think I speak for a lot of people in saying I would love to see things like turn-based games and first-person shooter games set in the Stargate universe. They could be very, very fantastic games. At any rate, thanks for watching, folks, and if you dig the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave your questions and comments down below, and go give Stargate Timekeepers a look. And until next time, happy gaming, everyone.